Hey there, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a really significant legal showdown. It's right at the center of music, big tech, and yeah, copyright law.
Absolutely. We've been looking at this news report about a major legal challenge, and it's landed squarely on Meta's doorstep.
And this isn't just, any case. We're talking about the music catalog of a truly global superstar.
Right, and the digital platforms billions of people use every single day. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, the whole suite.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really try and unpack the core claims, get into the details of this specific lawsuit.
We want to understand what happens, legally speaking, when songs, and it's a lot of songs, allegedly get used on these huge platforms without, well, the right permissions.
And the scale is what immediately grabs you, doesn't it?
It really does. The lawsuit is talking about a potential, $109 million accusation?
Yeah, and claiming over 240 songs are involved. That's serious stuff.
Big numbers, a lot of well-known music, presumably.
Okay, so let's unpack who's involved. We've got 8 Mile Style on one side,
Mm-hmm. They're Eminem's music publishing company.
meaning they control the rights to his compositions,
Yeah.
like the actual songs, the lyrics, the melody.
Exactly that, the underlying musical work, and they are suing Meta.
Right. And the main claim, the core of it, is that Meta, across its platforms,
Has been making hundreds of their songs available, 8 Mile style songs, and letting users incorporate them without getting the specific licenses needed for that catalog.
the report we looked at, it highlights that the lawsuit actually names over 243 specific songs.
Yeah, owned by the publisher. So it's not just a vague complaint, it's targeted a big chunk of their work.
Absolutely. And the claim isn't just that the songs appeared, it goes deeper.
Right. The lawsuit alleges Meta itself reproduced and, importantly, stored copies of these songs in their own online music libraries.
Ah, okay. So Meta wasn't just letting users upload videos that already had music.
No, the allegation is they actually had the music stored, ready for users to pick from. That's one part.
Okay, what's the second part?
The second part, according to the filing, is that Meta then distributed these copies. They let users select them from those libraries and synchronize them.
Synchronize meaning like attach the music to their photos and videos.
Basically, yes. And those user posts are then streamed publicly to other users on Facebook, Instagram, etc.
And the lawsuit argues Meta actively encouraged this.
Yeah.
And distributed the song copies this way.
That's the argument to its massive user base.
Okay, this is where it gets legally really interesting, I think. Because 8 Mile Style isn't just claiming Meta directly infringed.
No, they're using specific legal theories. The lawsuit claims Meta is responsible for what users did, essentially.
How so? What are the terms?
They're claiming contributory copyright infringement, vicarious copyright infringement, and inducement to commit copyright infringement.
Okay, let's break those down a bit. Contributory.
Uh-huh.
That means Meta provided the tools, knowing infringement was happening.
Sort of, yeah. Provided the means and knew or should have known about the infringement. Vicarious is about Meta benefiting financially, maybe through increased user engagement from the music.
And having the power to stop it, but didn't.
Exactly. And inducement is alleging Meta actively encouraged users, perhaps through its features, to use these unlicensed songs.
So it's a strategy to hold the platform itself responsible for user actions, arguing they built the system where it happened.
Precisely. Instead of trying to sue millions of individual users, which is impossible, they target the platform, arguing it facilitated and profited from the whole thing. They're going after the infrastructure and Meta's alleged knowledge and control.
The report we read gives some background here, some context. It mentions Meta did a license deal back in 2020.
Yeah, with a company called Audium, they help collect digital royalties.
But, and this seems key, according to this lawsuit, 8 Mile Style's catalog wasn't included in that specific Audium license.
That's what the lawsuit claims, and it really highlights the complexity, you know? Digital music licensing is messy.
How so?
Well, you usually need separate licenses. One for the composition, the song itself, lyrics, melody, which the publisher like 8 Mile Style controls.
Right.
And another for the specific sound recording, which the record label usually controls. This lawsuit is from the publisher.
Suggesting Meta might have had deals for recordings, maybe, but not for the underlying songs from 8 Mile Style.
That seems to be the core of their argument, that the composition rights weren't properly licensed by Meta for their specific catalog. Platforms need to cover all the rights holders.
And 8 Mile Style, they've done this before, haven't they? taking action to protect these rights.
They have. The report notes they sued Spotify back in 2019. Very similar situation, alleged copyright infringement, similar number of songs.
Including some massive hits. I remember seeing "Without Me, Stan, My Name Is" mentioned.
Yeah. So the previous Spotify case, it shows this publisher is, let's say, proactive in going after platforms they believe are using their work without the right deals in place.
There's another interesting detail in the current Meta lawsuit, too, about specific songs.
The filing says 8 Mile Style actually contacted Meta before suing about alleged infringement.
And what happened?
Well, apparently after that contact, Meta did remove some of 8 Mile Style's songs from its libraries. The report mentions Lose Yourself, the really famous one.
Okay, so they took some action, but
the lawsuit claims, even though the original Lose Yourself might have gone, cover versions were still available.
the cover versions, like karaoke tracks, piano instrumentals.
Exactly. Or versions by other artists, sometimes titled things like Lose Yourself, in the style of, that kind of thing. The lawsuit alleges those remained available when the complaint was filed.
Which just opens up that whole other can of worms, doesn't it? User-generated content, covers.
Yeah.
How do platforms police all that at scale?
It's incredibly difficult. Legally distinct sometimes, but hard to tell apart automatically.
So the money, what are they asking for?
The financial side is substantial. 8 Mile Style wants the maximum statutory damages allowed.
Which is?
U.S. $150,000 per song, per infringing work.
Wow. Okay, $150,000 per song.
And the lawsuit specifies that amount should be multiplied across each platform where the songs were allegedly made available by Meta.
So Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, potentially. 3 platforms.
That's the implication. So if you do the rough math, $150K times 243 songs.
Times potentially 3 platforms.
It adds up to approximately $109 million USD, according to the lawsuit's calculations.
Plus, they want a court order, right, to stop Meta using their music.
Yes, an injunction. Stop the alleged infringement going forward. And it's worth noting, it's the publishing company suing 8 Mile Style, not the artist Eminem himself. They're fighting to protect the song rights they manage.
Now, the report we looked at, it did include Meta's side of the story, their response.
It did. Meta put out a statement. They said they have licenses with thousands of partners around the world and a big global licensing program.
Okay, standard defense, maybe.
Well, maybe, but they also added something crucial. They said they had been negotiating in good faith with 8 Mile Style.
Implying talks were happening.
Exactly. And Meta's statement continued, saying, rather than continue those discussions, 8 Mile Style chose to sue.
So Meta's framing is, we have licenses, we were talking to them, they sued anyway.
That's their perspective presented in the report. It suggests they knew about the issue, were trying to resolve it, but couldn't reach a deal before the lawsuit dropped.
Okay, so let's try and summarize this deep dive then. The core conflict. 8 Mile Style, Eminem's publisher,
who control the song composition rights,
are suing Meta. That's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp.
And the central allegation is that Meta used over 243 of their songs without the right licenses, both by storing them in music libraries
and by letting users sync them to posts, which are then streamed publicly.
And legally, 8 Mile Style isn't just claiming direct infringement by Meta.
Right, they're bringing those specific claims. Contributory infringement, vicarious infringement, and inducement. Basically arguing Meta knowingly helped it happen and benefited from it.
The money involved is potentially huge. They're asking for $150,000 per song, times the works, times the platforms.
Adding up to around $109 million USD, plus that court order to stop it.
And we got some important context, too. Meta's 2020 Audium deal apparently didn't cover this catalog.
8 Mile Style's earlier, similar lawsuit against Spotify.
And that detail about Meta removing some original songs like Lose Yourself after being contacted, but cover versions allegedly staying up.
And Meta's response. They have licenses, they were negotiating in good faith.
Right. That's the picture painted by the report.
So thinking about what this means for you, the listener, if you use Facebook or Instagram, if you see stories with music, if you add music yourself.
This case really pulls back the curtain on the incredibly complex, sometimes messy, legal stuff happening behind the scenes.
It's a big reminder, isn't it, that letting users easily add music and be creative on a massive scale bumps right up against the rights of artists and publishers.
Yeah, their right to control their work and get paid for it. There's a constant tension there for platforms.
Balancing user freedom and features with respecting copyright. And remembering the different rights involved, the publisher's song rights, the label's recording rights.
It's a complicated digital world they're all trying to navigate.
Which leads us to Maybe a final thought for you to mull over. Given how hard it must be to license huge, ever-changing music libraries,
And with user-created content just exploding, especially using music.
how can platforms, or maybe how should platforms, really balance enabling all that creativity with making sure artists and publishers actually get paid fairly?
Especially in this case highlights it. When you might have properly licensed versions of a song sitting right next to potentially unlicensed cover versions uploaded by users all on the same platform, how do you manage that?
It's a massive question.
Mm.
And this lawsuit really forces everyone involved, platforms, creators, rights holders, maybe even us users, to think about it.